Hello, Dr. Khan.
Yeah, can I start?
Yeah. Why not?
Very, very good evening, everybody, all participants, panelists, and whoever I'm reaching, my voice and my picture. And thankful to, I'm really at the outset to Dr. Stogi and Dr. Tej Bahadur who approached me and requested me to speak. Basically, I'm a man of sociology as an industrial sociology, but I just will move into more into industry and organization. So that is the, of course, we have to understand the sociology of organization. So I'm trying my whatever I'm going to speak more in terms of understanding from organizational perspective. Of course, what we have gone through has been huge. I mean, the kind of challenges. I was just reading somewhere, last epidemic we had happened is the Ebola one. We passed through 2 years, 2014, 2016, but its severity was very, very less in comparison to the number of countries suffered, and everywhere you can see everybody's down and they put into you house arrest. Every activity is like, come to a standstill. This has never had happened in the human history. Yeah, so that's the case. I mean, and the last one, other than this pandemic, other thing where the losses, if you try to look at what we are going to talk, and when we talk as an organization, and I don't know, earlier lecture in the morning, I heard of Dr. Anand, and I was really pleased to listen to him when he was talking about value vis-a-vis, the profit. And that's the market now saying, right? So like profit maximization and the market-based economy, all this globalization where we have moved. So this is a part of that. There is a globalization movement of people, money, intellectual capital, all having no border, right? And technology facilitating it. And all these institutions, WTO, IMF, World Cup playing into that. We have seen, but this the epidemic came through because of the people traveled in the aeroplane, am I right? So this is the part of how we have reached to this place, am I right? And it has gone to every corner of the world, most of the places, am I right? 188 country or something, very few countries, a few part has been left in any country. Where it has not reached, it is picking up. Like in US, some other state, I called one of my friend, and he lives in South Dakota. And I was asking, he said, yeah, last month. He said, it is normal, nothing happening. I say, oh, what is going on? And now it is going on. So, of course, like regional, with disparity, even like, it has not touched and it is reaching out. People talk about herd immunity, it will reach out. I just, without going more into COVID or this corona and its spread, everybody, we are reading a lot on TV, and magazines are full of that. But like what I was saying about last challenges for the human, civilization. We have heard about tsunami had come, 2004, and it has damaged many countries and all. And if you look at the tune of its impact was 9.5 billion US dollar, right? Huge impact it has made on losses and how the many organization, people lives and all this. But this is surpassing, this epidemic is all so far, because it has made everything a standstill. I just want to share my, can I share my, yeah. So, is it okay? So I was just talking about, in terms of challenges, and my topic will focus more on today on people aspect, like I have spoken to Dr. Bahadur also, that in the beginning. So, but of course, I will, that's why the challenges when I was talking about managing people and engaging people, because in the present scenario, how to deploy them in useful, the gainful employment, that is a big challenge now. And the kind of challenge it is throwing to the people. In that case, what are the important issues, especially from the man management and engagement? So that issue I will touch upon. And the most important issue coming out is more about ethical, this this position. So how people are going to deal with it? If you look at, some of the issue, if you look at how this COVID has done damage, right, it is huge, right? We can't think of, in terms of, just in the previous lecture, we just heard about the whole story and also without going into that. If you look at, it became this, the history. Some of them I was just reading somewhere. Some of the Chinese second spirit coming on wave in city like Beijing, and we have heard the story that it was coming from the Europe. So China is claiming it was existing in November or before because they collect those seepage, and from there they calculate where the disease exists. So we don't know it was existing November or December, but anyway, it came to as emergency on January 30th, and it became pandemic in 11th March. I remember I stopped visiting my college and university from 12th March. I was having an exam on 12th March, and I was not able to conduct my midterm. And since then, I'm just online like this. So using Blackboard or Zoom for my teaching, and also this is almost 3.5 months it has, and it has really brought huge impact. It has stopped, the world has stopped, like I'm just talking about old data given by ILO. It's 81% of world workforce by the full or partial closure of the workplace. So by April 2020 itself, the world is stopped, and all non-essential services and production was seized, right? Even where they're working, the working are reduced to, and that resulted into huge losses worldwide. We talk about some, I was talking about 9.5 billion. It is nothing if you talk about that was a huge loss, and the tsunami one. So it is around, people are expecting from 860 billion to 3.4 trillion estimate. This is the ILO estimate. I'm bringing from something, but ILO is saying, this is going to be there. It depends on how long it will continue. That is also an estimate. So we don't know. Still, we are hoping for the best, and we all think life will be better. But still, there are many stories. Some people are saying it is going to be part of your life. It is going to stay for 6 months, a year, or some people worst. I'm seeing people those who are really expert, they are saying 2 years or at least most. Am I right? Some people are saying it will remain like epidemic seasonally, will visit you, so it will remain there for 10 years or so. So there are many stories and many interpretation and all, many school of thoughts, many school of ideas. And you can't validate, you can't negate. So this is just addition of knowledge. So this happened, look at especially what has happened in terms of social impact, because we are the conference is more talking about in terms of social impact, social change, and life of people, if you look at. So if you look at the life of people, here, 500 million are likely to be pushed back into poverty. This is the Oxfam data. This is a very recent, estimation. They are saying 500 million are likely to be pushed back into poverty because of the COVID. It is already happening. We see, either in India or elsewhere. It is not, of course, India is huge because a huge number of people moving out, and sometimes they have to survive, and then the government coming up and all these steps happening. So we have got those information otherwise. Which exist. But if you look at the worldwide, it is everywhere. The government has come, of course, seeing the size of the country. So they are putting, like here also the government came, and the private sector, they said, we'll pay 60% of your salary. So huge, relief for private sector employees that happened to some extent, or to a great extent, I can say. So even many of my neighbors, they are not having 100% salary now. And they are working because they don't have a choice. They made changes in terms of their law, because we don't have so much clumsy labor laws here. We have so the government interpretation was you can fire people. They give flexibility. You can retrench people for some time, and you can cut down the salary for certain time if you are not gainfully employing him, or let him enjoy his annual holiday during that time. So this was rather than throwing him from the job. So that step our government has taken, and to some extent life are coming back to the normal. But despite that, a lot of people, especially expatriate workforce, lost the job. You understand? We all know, if you look from Indian perspective, most of the Gulf country, GCC country, and especially UAE is the first one who employs a lot of Indians, around 31 million or something, and then we come. I mean, and then US come later, right? So if you look at huge, I mean, number of employees here who are coming from India and all, and they are losing jobs, it is going to have impact. So even otherwise also, if a major chunk, most of the people, like, larger chunk in expatriate workforce, because expatriate workforce are the mostly employed in the private sectors, around 80 to 90%, 85%, and they are mostly, I told you, a major chunk is from India. I was just somewhere, I was just going through data, and I will just say how many Indians here. Yeah, 41 lakh. So this is around Pakistani 50 lakh, Egyptian 29, Syrian 25, Bangladesh 10 lakh. There's some old data and all, but I'm just trying to see the composition of workforce and its impact. So we have huge, I mean, from Indian perspective also, if they lose job, so that will be the remittance will go down. So that is happening, I mean, right? So a lot of non-essential services and all just going to halt. And then we have seen, like, a lot of people, especially I'm going to more speak on organized sector, but unorganized sector also, like, have seen, that's why the ILO is saying 1.6 billion people who are employed in, this is the UNDP data, sorry, not ILO. This is the very recent data. I just get a few days back. So 1.6 billion people worldwide who are working in informal sector. Like in India, we have this migrant worker, right? So those informal sector are at the danger of losing jobs. So they are having already lost job, most of them, or they are at the danger of losing job worldwide. If we talk about those things, I mean, like we just talked about, ILO has come about some policy framework and helping, like, providing some what we can do. We have seen many government coming up, like in India also, like, the government providing fund and food and all these, I mean, helping those companies as well in terms of supporting them. So this was if you look at all these things lead to the huge, I mean, breakdown of everything, right? So the production process get to, halt. The trade and all this global supply chain come to have, like, we have heard many stories happening, like Hyundai was production in Korea stopped because of supply chains. Those parts were coming from the China, they stopped. So the whole factory was stopped. Worldwide, it has happened and happening right now. Because of the over dependence, we are in a globalized world. So a lot of things we are consuming, which are coming through supply chain, which is the global world we are having. And even then, this is not supply chain, we have the stock. We are living in the world which we call zero inventory, just-in-time system. Just-in-time system means you don't want to put a storeroom and to have inventory. So most of these companies we are having, like, zero inventory, all these top companies. And also, where is the order? Then you have the parts. And then you have the reliability of your supply chain, who are your stake partners, and then you produce things. And also that has, I mean, over dependence. And that's why they're being questioned now. That's why this is the huge, because those supply chain, you have to, a lot of companies, rather you have to go on vertical, you can say integration, because most of the company we are not going into vertical, rather than outsourcing and doing stuff and all. That has happened worldwide. That's why what is happening in India, we are having the problem. Most of the technology sector and also we have stopped manufacturing because we start getting many things cheaper from the China. Same has happened in most of the developed countries and all, because you outsource, am I right? I was just reading somewhere, and I was just finding into the whole US, even the screen, this TFT screen is not being manufactured. They have the technology, Apple and all, but they have to have, like, or the Thomson TV or whatever, I mean, so, or Sony, they have to go to the China to get that TFT plate, right, which they put at the screen. So that's the kind of dependence and all that the globalization or outsourcing has made, and now it has gone in one go, right? So even the state are closing their boundary to a state, and sometimes it is district closing a state to the state. Yesterday, I was talking to my son, and he lives in Brisbane, that is a Queensland state, and because of this, last happened, Victoria, which is Melbourne, and they had some protest, Black Lives Matter. This is also one of the sociological issue. Even during COVID, there was the Black Lives Matter protest going. There's a different dimension to a study for a sociologist, right? The sociology of revolution, right? Or this kind of protest. Even despite all these kind of natural calamities and epidemics, even the people come on, and that has huge impact or bad impact, and many got into fraud, like like we were just talking about what we have made, right? So a lot of people got that spread, that thing. So they closed the boundary of Queensland, and also the travel is stopped. And they say it is hotspot. You can't enter a few days back, and slowly they are easing out. Coming back to the issue, so what exactly I'm trying to emphasize here, that it made the world, I mean, which never we can think of. You understand? And it has huge impact everywhere in a different kind of course, contextuality. It differs from city to villages. I come from a small village, and I just found, I mean, sometime I visit, though I mostly Delhi based or some other place I have to visit sometime, but my older parents' house, so I just called my distant, mama, and I was asking about this stuff. And then he was saying it is all closed, never has happened, more than everybody's having some guys coming from Mumbai and all, so people see him and start running that they will contract the disease. This was happening in that village. So anyway, coming back to this, so all these issues put into ILO put here, because we don't have, I don't want to digress the issue, but ILO is one issue which is very important point, which they said, which most of the, here, they say to deal with it, you have to, of course, the economy and employment. So you can't neglect the employment of people, even involving informal sector. So you have to stimulate. This is the number one. They say they talk about supporting financially and all kind of facilitating in terms of regulation and as well. Those companies, smaller, micro, those companies, and even medium-sized company and large company, of course, they have more teeth and jobs and their income to ensure them, right? So the people have the ready money to buy stuff and all, because that's very important. Protecting worker in the workplace. This is a huge, challenges. Even their health and their income. So this all kind of protection we are talking about, and relying on the social dialogue for the solution. This is very important from sociological point. So all stakeholders should come together. So unions, all this, political leaders, even religious leader, and then those, NGOs and all stakeholders, rather than, education institution like we are giving input here, the health sectors and all these. So whoever is there, they have to come together and they have to work in terms of having a dialogue. Then you can survive that what is happening, and meaningful dialogue. That's very important. Anyway, I just want to focus on managing employees. So what kind of challenges? Because these are interesting, and I have limitation to time to just within 30 minutes to do that. So impact, if you look at the people management issue in organized setting or any organization, large or small, whatever. So it is not like, the organization, they have their basic framework, they have their business plan, they have their strategies and business plan, right? And they manage, but still they have been redefining is being done. So if you look at, that's why I talk about, if any normal case, if you study management or managing of organization, it talks about, you will have the four perspective from yours, try to see the customer, you retain your learning and growth, to have your core competencies and what you know best, to have innovation and all that. And then your process has to be very, you can say, effective in terms of dealing with your challenges and all, because you have to compete and all. So there have been many, without going into, otherwise I don't want to, I just trying to connect it and simplifying. I don't going to be making too much, you can say, specific. So that's, I'm trying to connect it. And then, of course, those performance and financial performance, right? That is going to be redefined. Of course, finance is important, profit maximization is important, performance is the issue, right? But at the same time, the ethical domain nowadays, like in the earlier lecture, I heard in the morning, Dr. Anand, and I was really very appreciative of that. And we are talking about, there is talking about your value-based, right? Because it is, profit maximization is no more. The CSR going to play a very important role now. So those organizations, large or smaller organization, they have to, but of course they need support of the organization, what you call the government as well. So you have to, in organizational setting, just to understand, then I will come to the topic, that like earlier it was more simple. You have your performance management system in a place. Now your performance management system is not only those metrics in normal day, like as a dealing with him. You understand? This will be more holistic in terms of their contribution to overarching aim, which I'm talking, even taking into here. That's why I'm working on a paper on ethical challenges. So it is more in present time. You have to be simple, you have to be nice, and you have share what you have, and you can employ people. So these are the basic values. If you carry those ethical dimension, which most of the cases, like if you look at the dimension, most of the free market, like Friedlander and all, they talk about maximizing the profit. Am I right? Nobody cares. So there is no more free lunch. Am I right? But that is going to be